Okay, welcome. This is a online lecture, lesson 1.2, Sumerian Culture. One of the reasons I do this is a couple of things, really. First of all, if you're somebody who maybe doesn't write fast, misses something, wants to go back and maybe re-listen to my lectures, that option's available. The second reason, of course, with absences and things like that, if maybe a kid's not here, they're able to hop on and catch up maybe with what was missed. And third reason, also saves me from repeating myself 6-7 times a day, as well as allows me to categorize these different lessons in sequential order. So there's different uses of it, but remember, things that are in blue are important and should be written down. So if you see something in blue, that's a signal to you that, hey, that's important, and maybe to jot things down. So let's go ahead and get started on 1.2, which is Sumerian Culture. And I'm going to go ahead and start the slides. Let me get rid of this a little bit here. All right. So when we talk about the Sumerians and their invention of math and the hierarchy of the priests and stuff the other day, you're looking at what's called the Code of Hamurabi. Now, this is a tablet of King Hammurabi, who's seated here. And he is giving his wisdom to his followers or whatever, and he gave them in the form of 282 written laws. Now, these, of course, were they would be on a variety of different issues, from major to minor things, and oftentimes it had what was considered an eye for an eye or tooth for tooth type justice. And if you've heard that phrase before, an eye for a tooth for a tooth, it comes from the Hebrew Bible, which, oddly enough, the Hebrews were slaves to the Sumerians in the Old Testament. So, and also you'll notice stone tablets. If you know your biblical history, the Ten Commandments were also written on stone tablets. So we see some parallels there. And these laws were determine major and minor different types of crimes, and there's an activity on the wiki site that allows you to kind of investigate some of their laws. Might seem silly to us today, but back then they were rather serious. And what this does is it lays down the first legal code for all other civilizations to follow. Obviously, laws have to be written down, and the reason they're put in stone tablets is so that they'd be posted in a public place and nobody could claim ignorance of the law. It's in public view, maybe in the city center or something, for everyone to see. So anyway, that was the whole idea, and just make sure you jotted down what was in blue here on this slide, and we can move on. Okay. And there we go. Oop. Nope, I'm working. All right. All right. This is called the Death Pit, and just to look at it, here are the people that excavated it in the 1920s. What they did was they found these stairs that goes down into a inside vault, and at the bottom of the vault are several chambers. This is a schematic drawing of the archaeologists to show you where the bodies of the skeletons were found laying in concentric circles. So these are just sort of like sketches from these guys that dug the bodies out. What they found was that in Sumeria, every now and then when a priest king would die, there would be this massive funeral procession type thing. And the king and the priest king's body would be led down these stairs with a lot of his followers and slaves and possessions and everything else. And so the thing to write down, of course, is this is the death pit. And it's a massive grave, okay? And the other thing to make sure you write down there is that when the priest king died, not just his body, but his possessions, anything he owned of value, gold, idols, statues, even things so strange like instruments, horses, whatever. And if you're wondering, well, why haul all that stuff down? What's the point? It was because they believed in the ancient days that the only way you would have a good afterlife in heaven was if you would take these things with you to the next world. So it was important that people be buried with food and water and things like that that might help them in the next life, or the next world that they believed they were going to. So that is what that's all about. And oftentimes when they find these death pits, they find very strange things like boats inside, or chariots, or skeletons of horses, or whatever else. So, but anyway, that's just the thing. And then, of course, the last thing to note would be at the sound of a bell. This would be sealed from the inside, and so that you didn't want to starve to death while you're in the dark. You'd have to wait for a couple days before you would die from lack of thirst. So what they did was all of the slaves and the soldiers and cattle or whatever was buried with him, everyone would be given a vial of poison, a glass of poison, and at the sound of a bell or a clanger or a gong or something, they would scarf down the poison and they would all be dead. And then the slaves above would seal them in with their entombed king. And it was then considered an honor that you be picked to go. That would be one day I wouldn't want to be with the priest king. But sometimes even his family, his wives, not just slaves, people that were important, the priest king wanted with them. Might be. And then I don't know if they had some type of a way of electing a new priest king, or I'm not quite sure how that went, but this was the ceremony or the tradition. This is a picture from a museum showing how that would go about. This is the jewelry taken off of one skeleton lady. Maybe she was the queen, with all of her jewelry, her hairpins, her makeup box. There's bracelets and rings and stuff like that. So we can see that they dressed up looking their very best in the death pit. Kind of morbid. This is her cosmetic box. They found with different types of makeup and stuff like that. Crushed seashells for mascara or eyeshadow, things like that. Give a blue or purple look. And these are other artifacts found in the death pit. Things of gold or silver. Idols maybe of primitive gods they would pray to, or stone carvings, cuneiform that we looked at the other day. This is an example of an instrument, a harp of some sort, that could be used to be played, and you can see in the museum they restrung it, but I'm not sure what it would sound like. I guess it would like a guitar effect maybe, who knows. And these are some of the statues and that were found in death pits, and that's how we have a lot of these things from the Sumerian days, is what they were able to find from these digs. You'll notice, guys, that the men back in the day wore skirts. That's not because they were cross-dressers. They were wearing what's almost like kilts. Okay, pants have not been invented yet, and linen is something that the Egyptians will discover, but the Sumerians wore woolen kilts, so you can imagine how scratchy that would be. But yeah, that was sort of the wear of the day, and this is a picture of a ceremonial dagger that was found in the death pit. You could stab somebody with it, but I mean, bronze is such a soft metal, it's quite possible the blade could break off inside the victim. If you hit a bone, it might bend the blade. So they were very flim-flam. The bronze was just, it was an easy metal to work, but it wasn't a strong metal. And the same goes for this. This is a helmet, and you would never wear this into battle. It's more ceremonial, something maybe you would wear to a dinner, but it'd be the equivalent of wrapping a bit of tin foil around your head in terms of protection from an axe blade. An axe would go right through it. So that's just to sort of show you. And then the Sumerians came up with other discoveries and inventions, and it's not blue. You don't have to jot them down, but I thought I'd just list them because being along the Tigris and Euphrates, they had irrigation, they had a plow, they also used sailboats to get up and down rivers. There were arches for bridges, domes made of stone, for their temples and stuff, maybe at the top of the ziggurat. And then there was, of course, bronze and copper working, which you just saw. And, of course, they came up with the first weights and measurement system and units and stuff like that. So that pretty much sums up a couple things about the Sumerian culture. The next culture we're going to look at in 1.3 is going to be, here's Sumeria. We're going to jump over to the Indus River and look at India and some of the first things that popped up over there. So that'll be 1.3. Okay? All right, guys. We'll go ahead and end the show there, and thanks for watching.